are kicking off summer with a fresh and easy grilling recipe. We are making shock top lemon jerk chicken. I'm Whitney with Fareway and Sensible Health. Let's get started. I have about a pound of boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and they've already been trimmed. And we are actually gonna make our lemon jerk chicken into kebabs because I think that it cooks a lot faster, and then you get all of the flavors completely inside and around all the pieces of chicken. So you just wanna cut both of these into about 1-inch cubes. For the lemon part of our lemon jerk chicken, we are gonna marinate our chicken in 2 different things. And you'll notice to start that I have all my chicken in a glass dish. You wanna put your chicken in a non-reactive bowl because our marinade is gonna be pretty acidic. So we first want 1 bottle of shock top lemon shandy. And the reason I went with this instead of just lemon juice is because I think just lemon juice can be a little strong and it can kind of break down the fibers in your chicken a little too much, and it can actually make it mushy. So this gives you a lemon flavor and a liquid for the lemon juice to kind of swim in without being too overpowering. And then you need a few tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, and depending on how juicy your lemon is, that could be a half of a lemon or up to a whole lemon. I'm gonna add both halves of mine. And then marinate this in the refrigerator for no more than 4 hours. This marinade actually works really well if you leave it in the refrigerator for about 2 hours. If you go longer than 4, the proteins tend to break down a little bit too much and it gets a little bit mushy. So I'm gonna run in, wash my hands, throw this in the refrigerator, and then we are gonna come back and make our homemade jerk seasoning. Our jerk seasoning that we're gonna make for our chicken is a complete dry rub, and whenever I make a dry rub at home, I like to put them in a little glass jar because that way if I have any extra or I really like that seasoning, I can make a double or triple batch and then just store this right in my cupboard for the next time I wanna use it. So to make our jerk seasoning, which has a lot of Jamaican feel to it, it's sweet, it's savory, it's a little spicy, and has some nice warmth to it, I already have a tablespoon of just plain white sugar in my jar. And to that, I'm gonna add a tablespoon of paprika, a teaspoon of coarse salt, and I like a coarse salt like a kosher salt in this recipe because then you can really taste it and then you don't need to add as much. So we are going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt. To keep with our coarse seasonings, I'm also gonna add a teaspoon of fresh cracked black pepper. And then for a lot of spice, I'm gonna add half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. If you don't like a lot of spice, you can definitely cut this down or just cut it out completely. Half of a teaspoon of garlic powder. And make sure you're not using garlic salt here because I already put kosher salt in here and you definitely don't wanna double up. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, and this is where you're gonna get that nice Jamaican warmth. It has some cinnamon in there, so it gives a really unique flavor, which is what makes this recipe so great. And we're gonna use about a 1/4 teaspoon. And then lastly, just a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme leaves. And that is it for our jerk seasoning. Our chicken has been marinating for about 3 hours, and as you can see, it turned a little bit white, which is completely normal. But once your chicken starts to get that white tint to it, that means it's time to get it out of the marinade before it makes it too mushy. So I have drained off all the extra marinade and thrown that away, and now we are gonna season it with that homemade jerk seasoning we made. This is another reason that I like kebabs because the seasoning gets on all sides of these little chicken cubes. For this recipe, you're gonna need about 8 skewers, depending on how large you cut your chicken. I can usually get about 6 to 8. And I'm using wooden skewers, so I have had mine soaking in water for at least 20 minutes. That way they don't just light on fire on the grill. And one thing to keep in mind when you're loading your skewers with this recipe is don't pack your chicken too tightly because that makes it take a lot longer on the grill. So if you keep your pieces pretty loose on there, this will cook up really quick. I'm gonna run inside and wash my hands one more time and get all of this cleaned up, and then I'll meet you over at the grill to cook our kebabs. Everything we are gonna throw on the grill right now is going to take less than 7 minutes, which is so awesome for any meal. We are serving ours with grilled pineapple because the Jamaican flavors pair really well together. And you can see that I just have sliced a fresh pineapple into slices. That way it's easier to manage on the grill. And I also have a lemon that I've cut in half. So if you have anyone that you're serving that really likes a strong lemon flavor, they can squeeze some extra lemon over their chicken. Our shock top lemon jerk chicken paired with grilled pineapple is the perfect start to your summer grilling. If you want this recipe or any others, you can visit fareway.com. And remember, the most important ingredient in any recipe is family.